Hey, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue on our journey of learning just one more Chinese expression a day. And actually, by one Chinese expression, normally it's 4 characters. Okay, this is today's. Yesterday's, we have 无计可施. It came from 无药可治. Same structure, 无可. There's nothing, no something that can do something, right? So no scheme or no ideas that you can use at the moment. You're running out of ideas. That's yesterday. Today, we're going to continue with the 施展才华. Okay, just a little bit. You see SH, ZH, things with H sound, that means curl up your tongue. So 施 versus 思, 展 versus 攒. It's different pronunciation, different things, different sound, a lot of characters behind each sound, right? And 才, just now I made a mistake because all of these are curl tongue ones. 施展, I almost want to say 柴 because that's a continuation with the curl tongue thing, but here without H. So without H, that means a flat tone without the curling of the tongue. 才 instead of 柴, it's 才. Okay, I hope you can tell. Very brief pronunciation lesson there. Okay, 施展才华. Okay, have to be careful not to curl again. So 施, we're talking about deploy, right? Use something. That came from this flag in a wind motion, the flag look, right? So that's the use. 展. Okay. It's a little bit complicated, you can tell, right? And I think the contemporary simplified Chinese did justification to the origin of this character because every component was miraculously kept, even if it's a pretty complicated structure. So there are 3 things in this character. Well, Chinese normally write things straight, right? Occasionally we have curves. Occasionally we have twists and turns. So this is one of those occasionally twists and turns thing. There are like 1 corner, 2 corners, 3. So 3 twists, pretty some twists over there. What does that mean? It means body, dead body. Okay, my interpretation is you can view it as the vital sign, the heartbeat thing or breathing, right? And imagine you're just done with the last peak and then go flat. So that's the end of it. So that's the kind of 施 we're talking about. From living thing to dead thing, no vital signs anymore. That's 施. Okay, means something dead over there. Normally it's a human body. And here, this structure, which was simplified into this, means clothing, means apparel. It's actually a visual representation of the collar closure back then of the ancient times, Chinese clothing. We always wrap like one side of the clothing with another side, like another side on top of it, right? So you can see here, another side overlap on top of the other side. So this is the Chinese traditional clothing, collar, front collar closure back then. This is the most commonly seen. And of course, there are this ones or this types, like different ways of closure, but this is most commonly seen. I guess in contemporary Chinese clothing, contemporary clothing construction, this is a wrap dress. Like on wrap dress, you a lot of times see this kind of collar. And okay, so this is clothing. So we have a dead body, you have clothing, and in between, you have 4 of the same things. What are these things? Okay, one, this have to rely on imagination of scholars, like who come up with the explanation, like what those 4 things are. Okay, somebody said it's 4 limbs. So our arms, our legs, totally 4 parts of it. So on a dead body, imagine you have 4 limbs, and this is like beyond the cover of the clothing. It's no longer invisible. It becomes on display because it's a dead body. So probably some, what's the word for the doctor who check on the dead body? So it's that person now is no vital sign, and the clothing take off. You see 4 limbs. Okay, picture that. That's this origin of this character. And eventually that 4 limbs on display becomes the meaning of this character. It's something normally is covered. And because this person is dead and the cover is removed, so we get to see the 4 limbs. And 4 limbs is just a representation of the body, right? Normally you don't get to see a person's body, especially in ancient times. People are pretty wrapped up tight and fully covered, especially well-to-do family. I mean, for hands, people have to work with their hands. They wear shorter, they expose some part of their body, but that's for function, that's for practical purposes, like farm work or other craftsmen, like you have to wear functional clothes. But normally limbs or whatever body parts are not on display. It's behind the clothes. So here it's like, whoa, you got to see 4 limbs. That's the kind of display. Okay. So now we have use and display or show, and then 才华often 施展 together. 2 kind of action. And then here 才华 is often a combination to show to say talent. And actually these are 2 different things. Okay, so now let's unpack. 才 came from, okay, this horizontal line is the soil, the ground. And then this vertical line is something growing from the soil. And then here, another horizontal line below it means the root. So this is kind of indicator to point readers' attention to this portion. Tell you, okay, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, because there are a lot of grass-based symbols, right? We see this a lot, like plant sticking out of soil, living thing. We see that a lot. But here, the attention is drawn into here. That's the root of this plant. That's the vitality of this plant. And eventually this means newly growing things. So this roots are still in there, living, growing. And so this, even if you see it's not far above the soil, means this a newborn plant. It's still new. It didn't grow tall yet. And the attention was pointing to the roots, means, okay, it got all this in store in the future. Like this is the source. From this roots, the plant are be able to grow tall, become the fully grown up plant, right? So that's the concept of this roots. This is something in store in this plant. So eventually, 才 means talent, means born with this gift. So, we have acquired, trained, learned talent. I mean, eventually talent got to be developed that way, right? I mean, however good or we are born with is not enough, because everybody was born with something, but to bring it up to another level, you have to train it. But here we're talking about this born, this inherent, this innate talent, this energy in the roots of the grass that you're born with. So that's something in store, waiting for you to, the right conditions to bring it up to grow taller. But this is what you have. So that is the kind of innate, born. I don't want to use the word generic, but I mean genetic. So it's something born with your genes, with your with your life force you're born with, right? So that's a kind of talent. Okay, not the trained one, but you're born with one talent. 华, okay. I show 3 different versions of this. Okay, this is a simplified contemporary Chinese that already lost much of it. And these are the original ones. And you can see the evolution of the character become more and more abstract, but at the beginning of the journey of this character, the existence of the character is, it looks like, well, we talked about this before, it's a breath, right, going. And then you have 2 stoppers there, or the 2 sound bites there. It's kind of something related to sound, something related to breathing. And when we use breathing to express, that means life. There is life in there. Something is still breathing in and out, right? And then this is plant symbol, right? 2 of them on top of that. And I don't exactly know this 4 of them, what that means. I guess that means things are stacking up. It's a lot. So it's like something is still living and it's lush. It got double serving. So, okay, because there's limited space, you cannot really draw a whole panel of flowers, of plants or soil, whatever. But the whole thing to give you a visual representation of there is densely grown life in there. And some scholars say, okay, it's about flowers, something about blooming. So eventually this breathing, this life force was simplified and abstracted into, okay, 2 horizontal line, 1 straight line going forward, like that, right? 2 horizontal line, 1 straight line going up. And that becomes like the trunk or the stem, the flower. So on the top, all these crosses, eventually they become like all this or this becomes flowers. So something blooming on top of the stem. Okay, so the flower was its original meaning. And in contemporary Chinese, it got further simplified, just a cross instead of like 2 horizontal lines, just 1 horizontal line stem. And then this becomes the sound maker. This sound like a hua. We talked about hua before. This is hua. So the top is it lost its plant-based flower blooming, all this complicated structure. It lost it. And it simplified Chinese just used the sound to represent all of that. And you have to check traditional Chinese, what that looked like, what that could mean back then, and to interpret in our contemporary language what this symbol actually means. It means flower, it means blooming, it means brilliance. Does that make sense? So that's how this character came into being. So you have this born with talent and you use it and then you show it and then people can see your brilliance from it. That's the whole big picture of this character. So we have some big characters in this phrase. 施展才华 simply means you got the opportunity to show your talent. And here I'm using a picture of a segment of the Great Wall, because Great Wall is a kind of symbol of China. It's one ancient construction that's still in existing today. And of course, it was repaired multiple times, restored, because it was so ancient. It's like 2,000 years old. And with sometimes pretty complicated and challenging engineering projects. I'm not going to say it's a civil engineer, but it's a military engineer, definitely, back then, to hold out the tribes northern to the Great Wall. And I chose the picture because there are flags. If you can see, this tiny flags, and that's the 诗. So 诗 展, both of them are related to display, like the wind, the flag in the wind, and then you are able to show you, like uncover yourself from the clothing from here, like you're going to expose yourself, kind of like a self-exposure, because you have to step out to show what innate talent you have, and then people can see your brilliance from it. So that's show your talent. Okay, cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.